We know that around the world there are places which do not have access to an electric fridge or even electricity, generating a big wave of food wasted, unemployment, and malnutrition. That's why me, Gaby, and Margarita, and together with el-domo, we developed an open source Powerless fridge. Our structure is based on a phenomenon known as evaporative cooling. The principle underlying is that the fact that the water must have heat applied to it to change from a liquid to a vapor. When evaporation occurs, this heat is taken from the water that remains in the liquid state, resulting in a cooler liquid. To fully understand how the evaporative cooling phenomenon works, the material must have to high porosity levels like clay that will allow the steam to be released and the temperature to drop. Having contact with the water will create the cooling effect, and if we measure the temperature every hour during for 6 hours, we will get a lower temperature than the initial one like we did in this experiment.
And these are the materials you're going to need to build a Powerless fridge. In each slide, you will find a description of the materials, the quantity, and the characteristics they need to have. Metal rods number 3. Cinder blocks. Raw clay jars. Concrete. Now it's time to start building the Powerless fridge. The first step to build our Powerless fridge is to build the metal grid. For this step, we're going to need 9 circles made out of the metal rods from the next measurements. The circles go in the same order as they are stated in the slide. Now, for the other part of the metal grid, you will need 9 of the metal rods that measure 2.7 meters. And now it is time to build the grid. For this step, you're going to need the 9 circles made out of the metal rods and the 9 metal rods that measure 2.7 meters. Now, it is very important for you to remember the order of the circles, since the vertical rods should be hugging all the different diameters of the circles in order to create the dome shape we're looking for. Now, we need a place to put the metal structure in, so we need to create the base. For this, you need to dig a circular hole in the ground that is about 2.5 meters wide, and the depth will vary depending if the cold room is going to be completely underground or partially underground. For this proposal, the cold room is going to be completely underground, so the hole needs to be at least 2.5 meters deep. Now, you need to build a 30 to 40 centimeters thick concrete base where the metal rods are going to be kept secure and in place. All you will need to do is scrape off the soil, topsoil, and add gravel fill if needed. You might need to surround the diameter of the circle so that the concrete won't disperse all over the soil. Once the concrete is in the hole, it is time to secure the grid by putting it in the mixture. Now we're going to build the grid with the cinder blocks and the clay jars. On each level of the grid, you're going to alternate between clay jar and cinder block. And remember the placement of the clay jars. You need to be a little over the edge of the cinder blocks on the inside of the Powerless fridge, yet the outside needs to be 100% of the time in contact with the soil. As you are creating the pattern with the cinder blocks and clay jars, you will need to secure them with concrete. Once you've built the 9 levels, you will have to secure them again with concrete, creating an inside concrete wall, which will prevent the soil from getting into the fridge and animals reaching the food or anything that is being contained inside the jars. And again, remember, all the jars should be in contact at all time with the dirt so that the cooling by evaporation phenomenon happens. And now we need to build the top of the dome, the entrance where the people are going to get access to the inside of the fridge. So first, we're going to build another metal structure for the base for the concrete. For this, you're going to need 3 circles made out of number 3 metal rods. Each circle should have a diameter of 1 meter or a 50 centimeter radius. And you're going to need to build 12 rectangles made out of number 3 metal rods. Each rectangle should measure 56 centimeters by 32 centimeters. Once you've secured the metal structure, it is time to pour the concrete on top. For this, you will need a circular mold where you can put the metal structure inside and then pour the concrete. Once the base is dry with cement, add a 10 centimeter tall wall surrounding the main entrance. This will be the tongue so that the groove, which will be the door, will go on top of it and will help keep away insects and water from entering the cold room, as well as to keep the heat away from the inside. And the last step to build the Powerless fridge is to build the cover. For this proposal, we're going to build it out of concrete. You once will need a circular mold that will hug the tongue which is built in the top of the dome so that it will prevent the water from sliding in and insects or animals going in of the Powerless fridge as well. And this is how you build a Powerless fridge. You may need to vary the design according to your needs, but as long as you keep the concept in mind, variations shouldn't interfere with the functioning of the fridge.